Welcome to another edition of Open for Business. I'm your host, Marjorie Young. Today's show is about how one Savannah-based luxury travel agency has pivoted during COVID. Our guest, Valerie Edgman, founder of Edgewood Travel, will share how they are now focusing on stateside travel, compensation rates for her business, and how they are reaching out to their clients seeking input from them. So welcome, Valerie. Welcome to Open for Business.
Thank you. Nice to be here again.
Absolutely. You know, your industry and especially your business, I mean, this is not the first time that you've had to pivot. When the internet came online, I mean, everyone said, oh, that's going to be the end of travel agencies. And you proved them wrong. I mean, how long have you been in business?
We've been in business in Savannah since 1992. And it's interesting because I didn't think about that when you said we've had to pivot before. But in 1995, the airline commission model totally changed. And so in 1995, we were mainly a corporate agency selling, business travel. And we had to pivot at that point in time very quickly in order to survive that situation. And then, like you said, that was pre-internet, 1992, 1995. Who can believe we worked in pre-internet? But then the internet came on and you had this wealth and trove of information about destinations, and you could easily communicate with your European counterparts. And all of a sudden said, for a long time, there was a period when, again, the media said, travel agencies and travel advisors are dinosaurs. There's no use for them anymore. You've got the internet. You can do it all yourself.
Exactly.
So
you showed them.
We're still here. And
so how did you pivot back then? I mean, what was your strategy to deal with that?
Well, I think that part of the strategy is still the strategy, is that now there's too much information.
Mm-hmm.
So do you really have the kind of time it takes to evaluate that hotel in Paris or New York? Whereas in most cases, either I myself have been to the hotel or one of my colleagues has, or I've had customers there who, even though we all use TripAdvisor and we all read those reviews, we have no idea of the level of sophistication that the poster has. I mean, he might think that, the Hilton in, Kansas City is a luxury experience. Well, that wouldn't be a luxury experience for most of our clients. So it's vetting where the information is coming from. And because we have worked in the business so long and we have clients of longstanding relations, we know what their level of sophistication is. They may think that too. On the other hand, they may think the only option to go is the Plaza Athénée. So it's being able to vet the information and present it specifically for the individual traveler that you're speaking to.
So your next challenge has been COVID, and your whole industry has had to pivot again. And what are you doing now that nobody's traveling right now?
It is the most difficult challenge that any of us have ever faced, all of my colleagues. So, the good news for us particularly is that we had anticipated that there was going to be a recession. It was just kind of a law of averages, regardless of what's going on in the political world or the economic world. Law of averages said at some point in the relatively near future, we're going to have a recession. So we were very fortunate that we had a good trove of cash, which will see us through this. I just had a staff meeting, and I told my staff again, there is no question that we will be able to see this through. But when nobody's getting on a plane and our main business is sending people internationally, it has been nerve-wracking for sure. So our main thrust right now is people aren't, even if you have one person in a couple who's comfortable maybe getting on a plane, they're going to have their alter ego saying, no, we're not doing that, which we totally understand. So the first thing we're seeing and we're promoting are drive destinations and hotels. So, and in fact, we have started to see reservations for those for June and July. The one thing that the hotel, and we were talking to each hotel before we book. I was just speaking with the Rosewood in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You know, are you open? What's your policy? What's your percentage of occupancy? So that when we're speaking to our customers, we're saying, okay, right now they can only have 25% occupancy. Here's what they're doing. The restaurant will be open. They can have 50%. And so each step of the way, we know exactly what the client experience will be and if it's worth that client experience. So we see the Ritz down in Amelia Island doing the same thing. We just booked Blackberry Farm in Tennessee. So we're mainly looking at secondary markets, not big cities. Nobody's prepared to really go to a big city yet, but kind of
might be a blessing in disguise for the second. It might be a blessing in disguise for the smaller towns.
Absolutely, I think for sure. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing we're doing. Hotels have always been a component of our business, and a very like 14% of our total revenue comes from hotel sales, but it's never been something that we put first and foremost. It was more of an, you know, the secondary, oh, where do you want to go and what do you want to do? And then, oh, by the way, here's the hotel. Soon, as of probably June the 1st, we have contracted rates, special contracted rates with over 750 hotels where we have special amenities, and then we have contract rates with probably 20,000 other hotels around the world. We're probably going to expand those relationships and double them as of the 1st of July with our special benefits package. So that's the first thing we're doing. And, you know, until people feel comfortable, until we think long haul destination is a good idea, that's going to be our focus.
So how do you get paid? I mean, what's the structure of your payment?
Traditionally, travel agencies, I mentioned in 95, the airlines changed how they compensated us. They used to compensate us with a commission that went away in 95. So people started charging service fees for issuing airline tickets, which we still do. And most consumers are pretty familiar with that. We've always worked on a little bit different model in that we've always had service fees for consulting, for making reservations above and beyond what the hotels or the cruise lines or the suppliers give us, because quite frankly, those have been diminishing for years. Like most suppliers, they've continued on a program of disintermediation, you know, trying to cut out as much of the quote middleman as possible. So that's affected our compensation levels for a number of years. So we've always been moving to more of that consulting model, like an accountant or a lawyer or an hourly type of basis.
Yeah, I mean, but that makes sense, Valerie. I mean, you're right. When you go on to the internet looking for a trip, you have no idea. I mean, there's so many different options. So I mean, I guess you do fam trips. Is that how you get familiar with the different places? And
sometimes we do what we call study trips, where we are hosted by a particular hotel or a cruise line. But more often than not, we just travel on our own, and many times we're not even advertising ourselves as travel advisors, because what you want to have is the true experience. You want to have want to know what your customers are going to experience when they walk into a hotel. And if they know, that, you could give them more business, they are like, well, let's see what we can do for this person. And you get a different feeling of how someone might be treated. So sort of the Andrew Harper type of study trip where, if you're not familiar, nobody even knows who he is. And I'm sure it's now a bunch of Andrew Harpers, but they go into hotels completely incognito and nobody knows they're reviewing the hotel. No, they pay full price. So it's a really great way to understand everything that a hotel is doing. And so that's something, again, that we have access to, those reports and those insider reviews that the general public, for the most part, doesn't have access to. So it's something that, even though TripAdvisor may say something about this hotel, if we can go on to Andrew Harper or another subscription service and read all the professional reviews, it gives us a totally different piece of information.
So I know you are extensively traveled around the world. How many countries have you been to?
I have an Excel sheet on that. I don't think I've updated it lately, but I think the last count, it was 70, and I could be up to 80 now. I haven't added all the countries in the last couple of years.
Awesome. Gosh, I mean, just think about all the places that you've been. I mean, everybody around the world is being affected by this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the other thing, working with an advisor, we're getting daily emails from places like India, Italy. All of our on-location people are sending us emails about what's happening in their country. And I have to give these people so much credit because they are saying, do not send people. Do not suggest us. We're not ready. We will tell you, and this is their livelihood too. We will tell you when we're ready. Which is a great, resource to have. I get an email from Italy that's about 3 pages long every single day, telling me, the status of the COVID, the status of the tourism business, the status of their daily lives, and what the governments are doing, the EU and the Italian government. So it's really a great piece of information. So we can say to our customers,
don't go.
We can't even entertain thinking about this. And I think it's so interesting because we had clients who were theoretically going to go to Oberammergau, which, if you don't know, is Passion Play, canceled until 2022. So they're not going to do that. And they were like, well, let's go to Hawaii in September. And I go, let's talk about that in August. It's just not time yet. So that's is the internet going to tell you that? So that's another, it's actually a disservice to my own business to say, we're not planning that for you. That's not a wise choice at this point in time. And I will tell you when it's a wise choice. So that's something that, you're never going to get somebody on the internet telling you, I'm not going to sell you a trip or a product because it's not a good idea.
It's not safe yet. Absolutely. So in the meantime, how is the industry going to make money? I mean, have you seen any other models of how people can do it? Are they doing digital lectures? Or I don't know.
There's honestly, I had a conversation with one of my compilation accountants who lives in Missouri, and she does work for travel agencies all over the United States. And I said, have you seen anything that's bringing in a good amount of revenue? And she said, nothing. There's nothing. The problem with having, informational is there's, again, the wonderful thing about the internet is there's so much of that and it's all free content. So, when people are struggling for making ends meet right now, it's not something that I see that as a potentially huge source of revenue.
What your associations, what are they saying? Have they issued anything that could help travel agencies?
Not really, honestly. Everybody is one thing the associations have done is talk to our providers. So for example, I don't have to pay my phone bill this month or next month. It was 100% waived. My errors and emissions liability insurance, they've just said, we are sending you a check for 15% of your premium, because premium are based on sales. We're not going to have those sales. So here's a refund check. I've just, we're in negotiations with our software providers. So looking at every single expense,
Yeah.
You can't save enough money on the expense column to get you out of this, but it doesn't hurt. It might get you that extra month. So I would say, talk to every single supplier that you have. Great. And ask for something. I think people are pretty generous right now. I mean, I was shocked when our phone company said, okay, you can have the next 2 months for free. Because they're a big company. Right. And was not an issue at all for them. So I would say to all small business people, take every single expense line item by line item and ask for help.
And actually, if they don't have an association doing that, pick up the phone and call.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we ran a very lean environment to begin with, and we were preparing for that inevitable recession. So there's not a lot of fat to cut in the expense column. Our main expense is personnel. And,
that, like when COVID first came along, what was the timeline of what happened with your business?
Well, for the first month, we just took everybody down to 4 days a week. And then we got the PPP. So everybody has gone back to full employment for 2 months. And then after that, we'll probably have to go back to shortened hours, shortened days, a combination thereof.
Do you see the domestic travel, the local travel helping your industry at all?
Yeah, I think that's where we're going to, again, pivoting. We always told people, oh, we don't really do Savannah. We sell people, we send you away. Well, okay, now, we're in conversations with several inns that have reopened, to talk to them about creating, some sort of package that's exclusive to us so that we can offer that. And we're looking at the drive destinations like Amelia Island, Charleston, Savannah, Napa, Portland, the Willamette Valley area. So areas that, because we have customers all over the United States, it's not just here. So, if you live in Atlanta, where can you drive 2 to 4 hours that's a countryside setting that will give you some relief from your quarantine periods? So that's all the things that we're in the process of doing.
What do the customers want to hear about how safe it is? I mean, what are hotels doing to keep it disinfected, and what are restaurants doing? I mean,
well, I don't know if you've seen the list from Georgia, but especially for restaurants, it's onerous, and hence a lot of restaurants have decided not to reopen, because from a financial standpoint, they just can't make it on a 25% or 50% occupancy with the things that they have to do, which is completely understandable. So I think the people who are willing to venture out already are willing to take that risk. And I know, walking in downtown Savannah on Friday, I was pretty surprised. There were a lot of restaurants and coffee shops that I walked into with my mask, and I felt very comfortable, and it appeared to me that people felt comfortable being there, but they were busy.
They were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many tourists do you think? I mean, is it mostly local? I mean, I don't know if you can actually tell, but.
Well, I thought it was interesting because I saw Segway tours going on. I saw a private guide doing a walking tour, and she had on her mask, and I happen to know her because she always walks backwards, kind of talks to the people, but walks backwards. And so that was going on. So I think that there were a fair number of tourists. I talked to a person who has 3 or 4 STVRs, and she had no bookings prior to the weekend, and then the week prior, and then they all filled up. So I think people are returning. Let's just hope that everybody's doing the right thing in terms of protecting themselves and protecting others.
Yeah, I mean, because it looks like the numbers are still going up in Georgia.
But, thankfully for Chatham and for Savannah particularly, we had a very forward-thinking mayor, and for which we're very appreciative. So I think the fact that St. Patrick's Day was stopped ahead of its time was just a real godsend to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Valerie, what tips and advice do you want to leave with the small business owner?
Well, I'd say the first thing is have a strategy. You might have to alter that strategy on a daily basis, depending on the information that keeps coming in and keeps changing. We're learning things about COVID every day, so the strategies may have to change, but have one that you can change if you need to. I think, again, talk to your customers and ask them. I have had so many customers saying, what do we need to do to help you? And so that's very promising. And ask your employees, what ideas do you have? This morning we were strategizing about, having more sessions like this where we invite our customers and have, our sales rep at the Ritz in Amelia Island walk the property and explain, what they're doing and how they're doing it, to give people that level of comfort that they might need to go. And use all the tools. So you have I don't know if there's any PPP money left, but if there is, try for that. The EIDL loan, the EIDL grant. I know you're a member of SCORE. Use those resources. Look at the partial unemployment. There's just a lot of things to be learned in this pandemic. So I think you just have to keep on looking at every avenue to support your business.
Gosh, and you have shared so many good tips, Valerie. I certainly appreciate the time here on Open for Business, and I'm sure the small business owners watching also appreciate your insight on this unprecedented time in history. It's unbelievable. So,
it is unbelievable.
If people would like to reach out to you, how do they get in touch with you?
They can call our office number. Again, that's one of the things that I want to thank. It's amazing that you're grateful for hurricanes. But in this case, because we had an emergency plan for hurricanes, which we know happen, we could take our computers home, we could take our phones home. We didn't really miss a beat in terms of being able to assist our customers during the initial period of the pandemic. So, because of all those procedures, our phone is an internet-based phone. You can ring our regular office. You can email us. We can transfer from home to home. So just, our website, edgewoodtravel.com.
They can get in touch with you there. Fabulous. Well, thank you again for being on Open for Business and sharing all these wonderful tips, and be well.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.